Well, welcome to the Jesus is Better podcast. My name is Derek Futrell. I am one of the pastors at Parkway Baptist Church. Absolutely love this place. And actually, sometimes in the room, most of the time in the room we do this, we've got Natalie Kanicki, who works in communications with us, and we've got Sam Taylor. So we're actually in Sam Taylor's studio, which I love. He's got a studio in his house that he does this from and allows us to do this from. So I haven't shouted out to them yet, and I want to definitely shout out to them and thank them and look forward to doing podcasts with them soon, especially Sam. Can't wait to hear some of the things that man's got to say. So he's shaking his head right now. You can't see it, but I can. But I've got my good friend Ethan Mann here. Ethan Mann, so say hello.
Hello.
There you go, man. Good job. So Ethan, how old are you?
I'm 23.
23 years old. So Ethan is a guy who I've known for 4 years. Let's see, how long has it been?
Yeah, like 4 years.
When did you come to Saving Faith? You remember?
2022.
It was 2022, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it was right about the time we met. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I have been impressed by this guy is how quickly he took to evangelism, how quickly he has taken to sharing his faith. And so one of the convictions I have as a pastor, and one of the things that honestly frustrates me at times, is I'll be at church and people will be standing there wanting to talk or whatnot, and I'll be like, hey, have you met so-and-so? And I'm like, this guy's been coming to church for like 7 years, and this guy's been at the church for like 10, and they've never met. And I mean, we have a larger church, but we don't have that large of a church. It's not like you can get that lost. But I'm amazed at how people are unwilling to share their stories sometimes with one another, how shy they are about their story at times. And one of the things that I love about this brother is as soon as he's come to Saving Faith, he has had no issue just sharing his faith with people. Yeah. And it's not like he went and learned some major evangelism strategy. He's just talked about what God's doing in his life. Mm-hmm. And that's a big reminder of Revelation. I think it's 12:9. I get the reference mixed up. I'll find it before the end. But it says that we've overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And obviously we need Christ. And we tell people that in our membership class too, like when folks come to our membership luncheon, that the greatest resource we have as a church with the Holy Spirit is you, and it's your story. And it's always kind of funny. You've been to them, because you've come to more than one actually, which I love. Highly encourage church members, come to a membership class for new people, share your story, whatnot. But it's always a little awkward because I'm sharing a little bit at the beginning, and stuff, and folks are like, we just heard you preach, and I'm going to listen to you talk again. I'm like, I know. But I get to the point where I'm like, all right, I want you to tell me how you came to Saving Faith and why you're at Parkway. And if you haven't come to Saving Faith, say that. I have not come to Saving Faith. You have full permission to do that. Obviously, we're going to pray for you to come to Saving Faith because that's the whole point of this, right? And it's amazing to me. You get like 3 or 4 stories in and everyone is locked in. Yeah. There's like this intimacy with people that they didn't have before. And it's all through sharing your story. And I'm like, golly day, Christians, we've got to do this more often. Yeah. Like not once every blue moon, not on a mission trip, not going to camp, or something like that. But you've got to learn how to tell your story every day, So that's my prayer. If you're hanging out today, I want you to learn how to tell your story. And I thought, what better guy to talk about story than my brother here, Ethan. So Ethan, tell him your story, man. Like, how did you come to Saving Faith? What happened? You did not grow up in a Christian household. Mm-hmm. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like Derek said, I didn't grow up in church. I almost just thought of Jesus as like another like Santa Claus or Easter Bunny or just some figure that people like wanted to like put some hope in. And I just didn't really think much of it. My parents, I mean, they were like forced going to church as kids, but then I mean, my mom got pregnant at a young age and then had my brother who's 10 years older than me, and they had to grow up quick. So I don't think they really had time for church. And so me, as a kid, I grew up with an older brother, and I had older cousins who introduced me to a lot of worldly things like pornography and what I thought love was, which is like having sex with as many girls as possible and all the above. And not really like drugs. I wasn't too hooked onto that, but then just like placing your identity in sports.
Yeah, you're a pretty good basketball player.
I was
I
okay.
shouldn't say were. You are a pretty good basketball player.
I was okay. My brother was D1 football player, and then my cousin was 6'8", so we played basketball. And then my other cousin was like all regional football player. So we all place our identity in some sport and like in women. And so that's
a common man thing, right? Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, like this is like I look up to these people. I was like, okay, sweet.
Yeah,
so
and you're a pretty good looking guy. Yeah, I mean you are. Well, that's a completely platonic like brotherly thing here, right? And I think a guy should be able to tell another guy, "You're a handsome dude," and stuff. So yeah.
Well, my problem this is probably like middle school, like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I was introduced to this stuff, which led me down just like a bad path in middle school and even into early high school. And so I struggled with that. I really did. I struggled with getting bullied too in middle school. I was a little bit heavier set, and people took advantage of that and made fun of me. And then
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. So I did that, and I was just like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. It made me feel awkward. And then like I going to like talking about my parents. Like my parents were amazing. Like the best parents ever. Like obviously we weren't in church, but besides that, like
your mom and dad have incredible love.
My morals and everything were good, and just all the different stuff. So I was like, I'm a good person. And when people would talk about like heaven and hell, I was like, I believe in it. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I'd say I'm going to heaven because I'm a good person. Like I do all these things. Like I haven't like killed anybody or anything crazy like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm a good person. Like I think I would go to heaven. And then like I got introduced to high school, and still like some bullying would happen. I like tried out for the basketball team freshman year, got cut. I'm like, what? Like I placed my identity in this. Like what's going on? And then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna train super hard. I'm gonna like really focus on basketball. And then so my transition to sophomore year, I like lost a bunch of weight. I lost over like 50 pounds.
Wow.
I like started like playing basketball every day, and like normally like when the guys like towards the end of like puberty and different stuff, that's normally when beginning they'll pick up some weight, and then they'll sometimes like cut it off towards the end. So that happened to me. I had long hair. I used to have like cornrows. I get cornrows because I have mixed cousins, so they're like half Black and Puerto Rican, and then the friends that grew up down the street with were Puerto Rican, and so their aunt did the braids. So I'd get my hair braided. Dude, awesome, it was like super long, like that's awesome. It would come down to like right here. So then I buzzed my hair, so I went back to my buzz cut, and then everyone was like, "He glue up. He glue up."
He glue up.
That's what,
what they said.
Yeah, okay. Everyone glue up.
Oh. So for those of us who are a little older, you have to explain what does glue up mean.
So pretty much like transforming. So I was once not as attractive, and then I lost this weight, got a haircut, and I started being a lot more attractive, and people would be like, "Oh, he glue up."
Oh, gotcha.
So it was like the transition.
Yeah, I've never glue up, so I don't know what that's like.
So that's me speaking from my high school words and everything. Yeah. So around that time, so I glue up, as people would say.
Gotcha.
And then that introduced like a whole nother thing, because they were like, Ethan like looked like this, and then come back from break and everything, and now he looks like this. Like, what? Is he even like the same person?
Yeah.
So then this started introducing like women in my life. So I got like my first girlfriend towards the end of sophomore year of high school, and she was older than me and everything, and like great person and everything, like great family. But we just got introduced to like sexual sin, and I really struggled with that, because I was like, yes, like finally, like I have a girlfriend, and like I heard all this stuff from my cousins and my brother, and I was like this is like how it's supposed to be. I was like, let's go, like this is what love is. And so I really struggled with that. And then,
like, did you know that was wrong during that time, or what was like your impact during that moment in your life?
It didn't feel wrong to me. And this might be like too much information. What was wrong? No.
Yeah, it's okay. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. What was wrong to me that felt like was like pregnancy scares.
I gotcha.
And that was the stuff was just like, oh my gosh, like we can't do that and everything.
Yeah.
And
you're 10th grade at the time?
Yeah, it was like end of 10th grade, like in summer going to junior year. And I was young for my grade, so
would you say that was pretty common with your peers and things like that as well?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And at this time, like, I didn't, like, any of my friends, like, none of them went to church.
Yeah.
So I had just got introduced to one of my best friends, Jeremiah, but it was very, like, briefly, like, end of the school year through, like, we did something called open gym, where it's, like, workouts for basketball, prep for, like, next season. Because I was, like, that was my goal, was, like, make the team and do that. And so I was pretty confident that I was going to make the team lead into summer, because we would have workouts, like, 2 days a week. Had this girlfriend, like, I felt like I was on cloud nine. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do, and I was like, sweet, like, let's go. And then going into my junior year, I was still dating the same girl. Still, me and Jeremiah became teammates. I, like, made the team, so I was like, let's go. And then he asked me to come to church with him, like a youth group, and I was like, what's that? Like, what are we doing? He was like, oh, it's like a fun night. Like, we're going to, like, play basketball. Like, there's going to be a movie and everything like that. And he was like, I'm going to pray us in and everything. He was like, I need to go practice. So I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, I'll go to it. And just the whole time, like, I was making fun of him for, like, messing up with his prayers. And I was like, dang. Well, looking back, I'm like, dang, like, why'd I do that? But it's during it, he was just laughing. Like, I was almost, like, pulling him away from the Lord.
I gotcha.
And so I was like, dang, like, what is this guy doing? Like, this is, like, who's he talking to? Like, it didn't make sense to me.
Gotcha.
Like, in 2 Corinthians, it talks about when the unbeliever has the veil over their eyes.
Bro, yeah.
And so that veil, I had the
veil
veil.
was there.
Yeah,
You
it was
had the
there.
veil. Wow.
I had no
Wow.
idea. So I just introduced this guy, like, nice guy. Like, everyone liked him. I was like, cool. Like, I want to be friends with him. Like, why not? And then we played basketball together. And so the youth group was awesome. I met Mike. I can't remember much with Mike that night, but it was a good night. I think I met Eli and a few others, but it was just pretty much like, oh, like, free food and basketball. I was like, cool, like, I'm there.
Yeah.
And then time keeps going on. I think this is when Pastor Mac was still at the church. And so when I knew if I spent the night at Jeremiah's house on Saturday,
You were going to go to church
we were
on
going to
Sunday.
church
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
And I was like, sure, like, I'll go to it.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of boring, but so I would go, and I would sit there, and I'd just be like, man, like, this is long. Like, why is it taking so long? And in the car back home, Pastor Mac would be like, all right, what stood out to you? I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, this is, like, the worst question to get asked, because I have no idea. And so I'd let
little point for parents, by the way. Ask your kids that question. Ask that question. Yeah, do it.
It's a
good question.
It puts you on the spot.
Yeah.
And make sure that they can't say the same thing as their sibling or anything. Because I said the same thing as Jeremiah. Because I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, none of this stuff really makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then, time just kept going forward. Then still struggling with sexual sin. Basketball season was ending. And I broke up with this girl that I'd been dating for, like, 9-10 months, because I was like, there's these other girls interested in me and all this other stuff, and this girl's like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, because she's, I would say, crazy, but it was me just having interest somewhere else. It was just an excuse. And so I ended things with her, and just, I was a single guy, I would say, like, pretty attractive, and then I had all these girls interested in me, and then so it just became a whole nother problem. I wasn't doing stuff with just this one girl.
It was lots of girls.
It was lots of girls, and I, like, looking back on it, it's so, like, messed up of just, like, how almost, like, we idolize that and everything, and just, like, how I used women and everything, and it wasn't right. And so this time, it's probably like March, April, like end of my junior year, and I was just doing the things. I would go to parties, but it wasn't to drink or smoke or do anything like that. It was to meet other girls and almost like networking or whatever like that. And that's just what I, like, struggled with a lot, was sexual sin, doing that to women, and then just putting my identity in so many other things but the Lord. And so I did that, and I didn't see anything wrong with it. I was just like, I'm young, like, I gotta find my wife one day, and this is what I'm doing. So, and then going to this, now this is senior year. So around this time, it's 2020, 2019, 2020.
So COVID was your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
COVID was my senior year.
Okay.
And I started dating this girl like December going into January. And I dated that girl for probably like 3.5 years, 4 years. And nothing really happened. Like COVID happened, just time went on. My basketball career pretty much ended. Mm-hmm. I stopped playing basketball. It didn't really matter. I was just like, yeah, like the pandemic happened, like all the excuses. And so
yeah, it had to be a very, very odd senior year, anticlimactic, that all that, lack of graduation, celebration, all that kind of stuff, things that you kind of build up to, prom, all that stuff.
No senior prom, no graduation. I mean, I had like a walk through the school and got my diploma, but that was pretty much it. And so a part of me, like in the moment, I don't think I really cared because I was like, no exams, like let's go.
Yeah.
But I was in this relationship. I really liked this girl. Still fell into like the same sin and everything. And I'm just like, wow, like I didn't see anything wrong with it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like this is my girlfriend. So this is what we're going to do.
This is okay, right?
Yeah. And so so COVID happened, moved on a little bit. And then I just like had to get a job, started working. I did online school at VCU, which was different because my parents didn't go to college. So this was a whole new realm. Like they helped, but not really because they didn't really know how to navigate it either. So I was just like lost. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing these online works, attending these Zoom calls. I've never even heard of Zoom before. And just life kept going. So then still in the same relationship. Then fast forward to 2022.
So you had a couple years post college where you just feel like you're just coasting, just bouncing around like a ping pong ball, like work, occasional online class, but no major direction or anything like that.
It was pretty much like the same stuff. Like my close friends that I was friends with were out making like dumb decisions too. It was like his senior year, and they were just exploring different stuff like during COVID. So I was just like, I got school, work, and a girlfriend, so I was like,
"You're good, right?"
It was just routine every single day. So basketball left, but then it got replaced with work and online college. So I was doing that, and then it led to my girlfriend ended up going to Liberty, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like, cool." Like, I knew of Liberty because I went to a C-Fall there, but it just didn't really like have much of a impact on me. I just knew it was a nice school with nice facilities. And so she goes off to school, and I'm still doing online school, and she tells me that she got saved at a convocation, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me? And I was looking back on it, like, why did I act that way? But I was like, why didn't you tell me and all this other stuff? And I was just like, I had a real like conviction about it, and I was like, why am I doing that? So then time went by. I like met with Pastor Mike about like, what's the Bible? Like I've been to like church now a few times with Jeremiah. I've been to some youth groups. Like it's starting to make sense. And like, what's the Bible? Like, I don't know how to read this thing. And he kind of like just like broke down the Old Testament, the New Testament, like the Gospels, like everything about it pretty much. And he was like, you should probably start out reading John, because he wrote like the simplest. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I started reading about like what grace is. And I was like, what is grace and everything? I was like, what's God's grace? Like that, I don't understand what that means to me. And then I got asked to sign up for softball. And I was like, sweet. I was like, I'll play a sport. Like basketball's over with, so I'll play a sport.
So you're talking about men's softball, like church league softball?
Yeah, Parkway softball. Monday night, shout out.
There you go. Wearing the hat right here.
So I did that, and one of the first devotions that happened was Nate Lockhart, and he talked about what's grace, what's God's grace. And I was like, no way. Like, I've been asking this question, like praying about it. Like, I don't know what it is. And he kind of said it, and then I was like, wow. And I think in there he says, God's riches at
Christ's expense.
Christ's expense, yeah.
GRACE, God's riches at Christ's expense. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. So he said that, and I was like, wow, like that makes sense. And he just, like, he went on talking about grace. And at the end of it, he was like, now, does anyone here, like, want to give their life to the Lord? Like, and I looked around, like, nobody's, like, at this time, probably, like, 20, 21 or something.
Yeah.
All these grown men are just, like, chilling there. And I'm just like...
Me? Yeah, I remember, dude. I remember being there. It was the wildest thing. It was great.
And I threw my arm up, and I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But I just, like, felt like I should. Like, it was almost like a little push.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, come here. And everyone's, like, cheering. He was like, all right, pray. Like, pray out loud. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, how? I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
So I, like, talked really low. And he, like, helped me out a little bit. And then I was like, amen. And everyone, like, started, like, hugging me and just different stuff. And I was like,
yeah, what's happening? Yeah.
Like, felt like I just, like, found out, like, results from this big test and I passed. Like, all that stress, like, just released. And I just felt, like, so much love from everyone around me. And I was like, what? Like, oh, my goodness. Like, what is all of this? And then that started just going to church Sundays and everything. I still was in the same relationship, and I was like, felt like I was on cloud nine for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
She was super happy for me. She just got saved like a month before, all these different things.
Isn't it interesting that God used her salvation to begin that process in you of thinking, okay, I need to come to grips with what this thing is called grace that the Lord is offering me, and that's pretty amazing, man. And then to hear it again, and you're like, wow, okay, here we go. So
and she just like I saw things and like her actions that kind of like, because she was a sweet girl and everything, and I just saw ways that God was starting to use her, and just like how she was a little bit different.
She was being changed, right?
In a great way.
Right. It's called sanctification.
Yeah. And I was just like, and that started like a process in me of just like trying to figure out things. And that's like an awkward age for people too, especially like with COVID. And so I figured it out when it was Jesus. And so a little time went by, and she would come home, and the process would fall right back into the sin, like put ourselves in positions that our foundation of our relationship was on, and it just wasn't good. So then Easter comes, like almost like spring break, and like arguments are happening and just different stuff, and it showed me like our foundation was built on lust and everything, and now we're trying to like shift it to Jesus, and it was hard, and it took a lot of time, and we had to be like, hey, we have to break up, like this isn't right. So then Mike asked me to work a church camp. It was Student Fusion, and I worked it with Kylan Washington and Jeremiah and I think those are like the two main, and it was a really impactful week, and I was just like, wow, like this was good. Like, I'm single, like I'm not really like wanting attention from women right now. I'm focused on my relationship with the Lord, and felt like I was on like church high pretty much. Like I wasn't at camp, I was working it, but I still had that church high because every day I was in the Word, I was in devotions, I was trying to serve on Sundays, I was trying to do everything, just because I wanted to. Like the Holy Spirit was like here's all these opportunities, like use it. Yeah. And so I was doing that, and then Infuge happened. And this was my first time ever going away with a camp. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to miss you, and all these other things. And I actually got it tattooed on me. So it was when we were at Ridgecrest, and it was in His image. Yeah. And it talked about how we're created male and female in the image of God, Genesis 1:27. And I was just like, wow. Like, my sister came, who's not saved. My mom and dad are still unsaved. It was such like an impactful week. Like, I just remember we would have church group time at the end of the day, and Sam would lead us in worship, and it would be like me, my sister, Jeremiah, and a few others, like all locked arms, like singing worship, just like I was bawling. And I think that was one of the first times I really felt like the Lord like really moving in me, of just like, wow, like this is like, these camps are something that like I value so much, and I think that the Lord can use me here. And so I took a high liking to Fuge camps, and that's why I got it tattooed on me. I'm just like, that's why I love to serve with camps, love to be with the student ministry, because growing up, I didn't have that.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who grow up in church, from my friends and just seeing it, like some people take it for granted. And me coming from not having that, I'm just like, guys, like this is awesome.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You're like, wait, this is fantastic. It's like a week of just completely cutting yourself off from the rest of the world.
Yeah, like no
getting
cell
in the
phones.
Word, right? Absolutely, worshiping, helping figure out where am I really with my relationship with Christ and things like that. And it's funny, your perspective with that is wildly different than someone who did grow up in the church. Because sometimes they see it as, this is just something I do, and you're like, this is something you get to do. What? I have this opportunity. And what I think that's the beauty of it. It reminds me of Romans when it talks about not that you're a Gentile and I'm a Jew, but they use this grafting picture of God grafting the Gentiles into the olive branch of the Jewish people, and how that infused energy into that and brings new life, right? And I love the fact when people who did not grow up in church come to saving faith and they're infused with kids who did, it gives a brand, like kids go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I've been looking at this the wrong way. And it's such a beautiful picture of why we need to do evangelism. And so if you don't mind, can we shift in that conversation a little bit? One of the things that has impressed me about you with your story, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story and to be honest about your sin too, and how that change in you, you're able to look back and identify that. While you didn't see it then, you see it now, right? And that's the beauty of the gospel, right? And the fact that you can talk about it with such freedom is really encouraging. And I think it's one of the things that makes people comfortable around you, is because you are not uncomfortable. Or comfortable, it's an awkward way to say that, I guess. But you are very comfortable in talking about what God's done in your life and how He's transformed you. So how have you seen in your life now the importance of sharing your story? Because it was Revelation 12:11, that was the reference. We've overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so you very quickly and easily, just with your tattoos and things like that, like we use an evangelism strategy called 3 circles. Pastor Mike loves to give out these bracelets that have the 3 circles on them and are prompting reminders of how to share your story with people. And I remember when you got that and you're like, man, I've given away this bracelet so many times. I'm going to get this tattooed and I'm going to keep a bracelet so that when I give it away, I always have it on my body. And I thought, man, wow, that's amazing, right? I love that. So why did you do that? Like, why do you feel so comfortable sharing your story? How has that happened in you? How frequently does it happen in your life? So,
yeah. I think for me, just sharing my story is just, I think there's power in testimonies.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who grew up in church feel like their testimony is like boring or just not as good as someone who had like this big change. But I think like when I hear people who grew up in church, like their testimonies, I'm like, wow, like that was impactful for me because I didn't have that.
Right.
So I think if I had that same perspective of just like sharing it with unbelievers and different, like sharing my testimony like that, like it takes the beauty out of what testimonies are. Like, it's how God brings you from life to death. And it's just, I just find it so freeing to share it because it had nothing to do with me. Like, it was all Jesus. And to me, I see this, where I once was in life, where a guy who had cornrows and these big earrings and used to wear Jordans and had my identity and all these different things, and just seeing me now, still a sinner, still imperfect, but just seeing like what the Lord is doing in my heart.
How He's transforming you. Yeah.
How He's transforming me. Yeah, it's just, I think that's what makes it so freeing. It's just looking at it from that perspective of just like, this was all like God.
Yeah.
Like if He
came after you, right? Yeah.
If He can die for us, why can't we just talk about what he's done for us in our life and share that.
It seems so simple, but we make it so hard,
Yeah.
right? You know, I've talked to so many believers who are like, I find it so hard to share my story or share a story. I'm like, man, just talk about what God's doing in you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about you and your tattoos for that matter. I know there are Christians who struggle with tattoos and whatnot. And I'm not giving a theology of tattoos today, neither is Ethan. But I think if someone does that, you need to ask why. And one of the things that you have said to me multiple times is it's reminders for you, physical reminders for you. Every time you look down at your arm, you're like, oh yeah, I belong to Jesus. But then secondly, it's given you an opportunity to start conversations with people. And I think that's magnificent, right? You know? And so I mean, tell me a story from that. Like, has there anything that's happened with a tattoo or whatnot that someone's asked you and given you the opportunity to share?
Yeah.
Or a reminder for you?
Yeah. I'll go with the story. So pretty much the whole reason, like Pastor Derek said, where I got my tattoos, to me, at first, when I had first started about getting them, was like, oh, they look so cool. Like, why not? But then it kind of transformed into just like what the Lord was doing in my life. And so it almost became like my testimony, like on my sleeve of just different things he reminded me with. And so I was just like, why not? If it's a daily reminder to me, it sparks conversations with people. Like, and I'm all of it's like trying to glorify the Lord through it. So like, I don't see a problem with it. So I just finished nursing school. And so we would have clinicals. So I would see a lot of patients and even classmates and everything. And I remember one day I was caring for someone who had cancer, and their family like saw my tattoos and asked questions about it. And I was just like, oh, like, I think she saw the lamb, and it talks about Luke 15 where he left the 99 to rescue the one.
Wow.
And so I just shared about that, and they were like, yeah, like, we know, like, I know about that, because they were Christians. And when, for some reason, when they said that, like, the room just felt so like free. And because they make it like mainly in healthcare, like, you can't talk about like religion unless they like ask you about it.
Yeah.
And so they started talking about it. They talked about how there's like the Bethlehem walk every year, like near Christmas time. And like their church was the ones who started that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Up in like, somewhere up north.
Goochland.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, like, it was like one of the first conversations I had in the hospital with like believers. And we sat down, like, talked about all my different tattoos, and they were just like so impacted. They were like, can like we get like some information from you? Which like wasn't allowed, but like I like gave them my email and just different stuff, and we emailed back and forth. But I was just at the end of it, I was like, is there anything I can be praying for? And there were like obviously like the cancer and just different family stuff and everything. And for some reason, like in the back of my mind, they were like, pray right now. And it was definitely like the Holy Spirit, because a lot of people will be like, how can I pray for you? And they'll tell them like, all right, okay, all right, well, have a nice day. But that like changes my perspective. Just like start praying for people like right then and there, just because like
with them,
with them, because like with an unbeliever, like I think they hear that a lot, and then no one prays for them. So they're like, how do I know you're praying for me or anything like that? Like, is this all like bogus?
Right. Yeah. So it's better to pray with someone and for someone while you're with them, rather than say, I'll pray for you and then walk away.
Yeah.
Right. But there's transformational power when that happens. So it's awesome.
I think the Lord was just like, do it. And so I did it. And then ever since then, whenever I try to have a conversation with someone, I try to pray right then and there. And
yeah. So I really appreciate you sharing your story. So since then, you've come to saving faith. You know, God's given you opportunities to share the gospel. You don't struggle with anything. Everything's just perfect for Ethan now, right?
Yeah, so perfect. Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. So you mentioned the fact that that was sarcasm, by the way, in case you missed that, was sarcasm. But how have you? So let's close this way.
Yeah.
Couple questions. One, what resources have come into your life that have been helpful for you in sharing the gospel? You mentioned camp, and I would say camp is a good cultural resource. You worked for camp actually last year, and we probably don't have time to go in the story of your dad, but you actually came home from serving there because your dad was sick with colorectal cancer, ended up passing away, and so I know that's been a big year for you.
Yeah.
But in that, your mom came to saving faith, which is pretty amazing,
Yeah.
right? And you saw your dad come to saving faith just before he died.
Yeah, 2 weeks before,
Yeah. So what was that like with that resource, if you don't mind sharing that for a moment?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the body of Christ. And I know my dad looked at me in many different ways of just my story and how I live my life and just different stuff I would do. But he also used my cousins, the Wilsons. So my cousin Justin Wilson is a pastor, and he came and visited my dad while I was gone visiting my sister for Parents Weekend because my parents obviously couldn't go because my dad was sick. And Justin sat down with my dad and just talked with him and asked him a few questions and asked if he wanted to give his life to Christ. And my dad did, and he prayed the prayer, and my dad just started weeping and just crying. And just hearing that, I was in Pittsburgh with my sister and her friend, took them to a mall, and I got a text from my mom saying that, and I was just crying. My sister and them were in the store, and I was just crying in the middle of this mall, and just so much joy came from that. And it was one of the best things.
Yeah, praise the Lord, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And even in his passing, seeing your mom come to saving faith was pretty awesome as well. So.
Yeah, it was definitely weird with my walk and everything. Definitely shook up some stuff, tested my faith. But seeing how my mom navigated through that with talking to you, having conversations with you and other people, of just she just lost her husband. All hope is gone. What am I going to do? And she put her hope in Jesus, and it was just one of the greatest things that could happen from a tribulation like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man. Well, as we kind of close, what are some ways that you would share with other people about learning how to share their faith, and what encouragement would you give them in just sharing their faith, right? Talking about what God's done in and through them.
Yeah, the encouragement of just seeing my dad pass away and not being more upfront about sharing the gospel with him really to me put so much emphasis of just how important getting the gospel is. And just I heard one person say I couldn't imagine going up to heaven or whatever, and we see the people who are going to hell and just why didn't you say anything? Why not? Why couldn't you tell me it was that easy? It was this great. And I think the combination of those two things just really shifted my perspective of just how I want to live my life and how I want to share the gospel with people. Really just changed me going through that. And ways that I think has helped me with it is just, obviously I hope people don't have to go through tribulations like that, but they're going to come about. And it's just knowing that these things are happening for a reason. The Lord is obviously with you. He's in control. And then obviously being with the body of Christ, serving has been a big, for me it was camp, but for someone else it could be working in the nursery or saying hi to people at the door. And just community, community's super huge for me. I have a great group of friends around me who encourages me, pushes me in my faith, make sure I'm getting in the word, make sure if I slip up of just a weird joke I say, they hold me accountable to it. And it's just having that, it's just it's awesome.
You've used some big words here, and I'm thankful for it. And I want to kind of help people as we wrap think about this. So some of the things you've heard is knowing the gospel, right? So Ethan's talked about sharing the gospel. It's a huge part of growing in our faith. Talking to people about what God's doing in our lives. And for him, that was tattoos. For me, it's not. I have other reminders. Doesn't mean that I'm against that or anything. But that's one of the things that's impressed me about you is how you have tangible reminders in your life that are constant and daily for you to be talking about what Jesus is doing in your life. And I think that's a massive takeaway from today is talk about what Jesus is doing every day, okay? Every day, in every context that you're in. But in growing in your faith, and that's one other piece, that, when you come to saving faith, things aren't always peachy keen. They're not always hunky-dory. Actually, in a lot of ways, they won't be. Yeah. And how much you need accountability, you mentioned that word, with other friends in the body, how much you need to be serving. So how important it is to just plug in and serve in the body. And I appreciated you shouting out for nursery. Amen to that. But anything else too, man, just finding a way to serve that you don't get paid for. That you can be like, hey, I want to serve in a way that costs me something. And you mentioned camp, but you've served in so many other ways. You're so humble to not talk about all the other things that you do. And I appreciate that about you. But then also sanctification in having those accountability relationships, being involved in a small group, being involved, like you talked about the church. And I think that's one, I have no shame in plugging Parkway. I absolutely love the church that I lead and the people in the body of Christ. He mentioned some different people like Pastor Mike. He mentioned other people, Sam, and how God uses people who are serving in their variety of different ways, small group leaders, whatnot, to draw us in and to build relationships, and also challenge us and help us to grow in the wisdom and admonition of the Lord. So if you don't have a church home and you're in Central Virginia, man, we want you to come to Parkway. Yeah. Ethan, what would be an invitation for you for that? Why would you say, hey, come to Parkway, experience that?
To me, I've experienced a lot of different churches. I've gone through and visited in Lynchburg and Liberty and everything, but the one thing that always sticks out to Parkway is preaching the word, preaching from the Bible, and just how welcoming and family-oriented I feel like the church is, and just building up the next generation and everything with that. And it just reminds me of just what I want to do in my life and in my future, how I want to raise my kids. And I see that in so many adults at Parkway, and it's just something I admire. So, yeah.
Well, I love you, Ethan. I'm thankful for you, man. Thank you for doing this with me today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning into the Jesus is Better podcast. Again, my friend Ethan Mann, sharing his story of faith and from high school on, and now a recent graduate of nursing school, getting ready to take NCLEX. Is that right?
NCLEX soon, and
yeah,
then
man.
working in the emergency
room. We're going to be praying
room
for that and working in the ER, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's a guy who's living in our community, and he's sharing his faith every day. You've heard about even the opportunity he had to do that at work through a lamb tattoo. And so God bless you guys. Praying for you, and can't wait to see you next time on the Jesus is Better podcast.